Hello everyone, and welcome to the first video ever uploaded to this channel. Firstly, I want to create a number of the first videos in the channel about explaining some big notions such as what is philosophy, what is culture, what is civilization, and what are the biggest, most important contemporary philosophical questions and cases. Today I want to discuss what philosophy is and why we care about it. The term philosophy comes from the Greek, which means the love of wisdom in a literal way. It was used in the sense in the pre-Socratic tradition in Greece, connected to Pythagoras, in which the term originated. For Plato, philosophy is the ascent of the soul from the world of phenomena to the realization of truth. And for Aristotle, he defines it as the science that investigates the first causes and ultimate principles. In the modern context, Immanuel Kant defined philosophy through four major questions. What can I know? What should I do? What am I worthy to hope for? To give a contemporary definition, philosophy is a critical and reflective mental activity that seeks to analyze fundamental concepts and building holistic visions about existence, knowledge, and values. Philosophy's core mission precisely is to pose and ask questions rather than to give a ready-made answer. Philosophy is not some highbrow nonsense fit for the sole consumption of university professors, nor does it consist of a meaningless collection of intellectual jargon. It is basically wanting to understand something, to understand the nature of the world and your place in it, understanding what is good and evil, and understanding how you can lead a good life. Philosophy, unlike the sciences, doesn't involve using laboratory experiments or measuring instruments. It makes greater use of logical and critical thinking, posing questions, reflecting, and conceiving. Through reason, everything that it discusses. It addresses fundamental questions including, but not limited to, why do we live at all? What can we possibly know? How should we live? From a very old time, philosophers divided philosophy into fundamental branches. One of them is metaphysics, which asks about the nature of reality. What exactly is the reality we live in? Do we have free will or are governed by law? It also includes epistemology, the theory of knowledge, which asks, how do we know what we know? What is knowledge? How do we know that we are not being hoodwinked? Do we always believe in our senses? Is it true that we only think that we understand when we are just imagining our understanding? Axiology is another major branch, which deals with the study of values and includes ethics and aesthetics. Ethics tries to understand what is good and evil and how can we distinguish between right and wrong. Aesthetics questions if beauty can be considered relative and exclusive to each person, or if it has an objective nature. Philosophy is not only about branches and theories. In fact, it has great practicality. When you learn how to think philosophically, you learn how to question virtually everything you have been raised to believe. Everything you have ever learned. Everything you have ever done. Not to condemn it, or even just to criticize it, but rather to question it. You learn how to step outside yourself and say, why am I doing this? Do I really believe in this? Or do I simply continue doing it because it's customary for me? Philosophical thinking broadens your perspective. Instead of dealing with problems quickly or emotionally, you pause and ask, is my opinion correct? Is there another possibility? Am I biased towards a certain idea just because it makes me comfortable? Sadly, the philosophy we know today as modern philosophy has more or less been lost in our universities, reduced into an arcane, specialized academic discipline, which in our current capitalist thinking doesn't pay the bills. That was not what philosophy was about in its previous incarnation. It was a life way, a set of tools that enabled agents to cope with everything life throws at them. Instead of just going through the motions of life, like a cell phone put in airplane mode, philosophy persuades you to be conscious of living. It persuades you to make your own decision of what values to live by, and to think the thing through before agreeing with the idea of someone. In the end, we can't afford to think that philosophy is an intellectual luxury. It's a bunch of methods, a set of techniques and tools. These tools help us analyze and think, understand ourselves and the world around us, and deal with it more consciously. The more you get into it, the more conscious your life gets, and the more you realize how much you are responsible for.